Are you thinking about moving to Boise, Idaho? Well, this is the episode for you. I have CarlieSeamons, Realtor in Boise, Idaho. Say hello, Carlie.
Hello, everyone. I'm CarlieSeamons, Realtor in the Boise, Idaho area. Thanks for having me, Derek.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it with you. This is Wanna Move There, the show giving all humans all over the planet and out in the space, wherever. I used to say Central Pennsylvanians because I was kind of aiming this at Central Pennsylvanians, but now I figured anybody anywhere could be using this information to move to said area. So this is a show giving all humans anywhere and non-humans all the info they need to decide whether they want to move to the place that we're talking about today, being Boise, Idaho, and the surrounding area. I am your host, DerekBicksler, Realtor of 15 years. I grew up on the hill, as we call it, here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Graduated from Mechanicsburg High School in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Go Wildcats. And went up to Penn College of Technology in, you guessed it, Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So I am Pennsylvania born and raised right here in South Central Pennsylvania. Had a few sales jobs before I started selling real estate 15 glorious years ago. Yes. Why did that sound? It sounded weird coming out of my mouth for some reason. 15 glorious years ago. If you need to buy or sell a home, please now I can't get anything right. If you need to buy or sell a home, please call me, text me, email me, throw a rock through my window, send a carrier pigeon, whatever you need to do. I want to hear from you, and we still need inventory pretty badly here in November of 2021. Might be different whenever you are watching and listening. And we will ask Carlie also how her market is doing right now. Reminder, whether you are watching live or on a replay, ask a question in the comments, or if you know one of us, just say hi and say where you are watching or listening from. And a reminder that all the replays are on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, iTunes, Spotify, all the audio places, all the video places. So wherever you like to consume your content, this episode will be there. And without further ado, I will bring in Carlie, and I'm going to read your bio and information. But while I'm pulling that up, say hi to everybody again and tell us the last movie you watched.
Oh, well, hello, everyone. My name is CarlieSeamons, and I am a realtor in the Boise, Idaho area. The last movie I watched, actually, we just watched a new, I already can't remember the name of it. It was a new Christmas movie on Netflix. They always have some new kids' Christmas movie, and I think it was like the Boy Named Christmas, I want to say. We just watched that a couple nights ago. So, yeah, that was a fantastic movie. I recommend. They always put a good one out every year.
Was it good? It's a Netflix original, right? I've seen it's being popped up in my face right now.
Yeah, I know they have like the Chronicles and the Chronicles 2 the last couple of years. Those are really good. This one was really good too. Even my husband was like, that was a really good movie. So yeah, it was a good one.
Was the Chronicles, what's his face? Kurt Russell or whatever?
Yes.
Is that what that one was? Yeah, and there were two of them? Was there two of those?
There was. They did a second one last year. So
yeah, I like those movies. And then Elf's always a classic, so you got to break out the Elf DVD.
Yeah,
we just went ahead and bought it, so we have it.
Yeah, that one's amazing. We started to turn that one on and decided to watch a new one instead.
Nice. Yeah, I'm waiting. I have my kids half the time, so I'm sitting there in the queue, and hopefully I can watch it with them if they don't watch it before I get to it with them. And now I have your bio up here, and if I can find it. You grew up in Boise and Buhl in Idaho, so born and raised just like me here in Central PA. You went to Buhl High School. Your favorite color is...
Blue.
I'll let everybody out there guess blue, literally 95. And then I think I had a couple of pinks and maybe one green, or sometimes people put a secondary blue, but I also like, but blue, man, I wonder if that's true. I'm going to have to Google what the favorite color stats are out there, but blue crushes it on this show. So if blue is your favorite color, your favorite food is anything your grandma cooks. So if you had to pick one thing your grandma cooks that you love and couldn't live without, and you have to have the recipe so that when she's gone, you can still make it and you'll teach your kids how to make it, what's that one thing?
Oh my gosh, there's literally so many things because she cooks so good. But one of my favorites, I already cook all the time, so I'm going to skip that one. Her chicken tortilla casserole. I had to think I was going to say taco for some reason. It's a chicken tortilla casserole, and that one's pretty delicious. I mean, my grandma's cooking's always fresh. My kids always, whenever I make salad and I like cut everything and like not from a bag, they're like, "Oh, we're having Gigi salad today," and I'm like, what does that mean? And they were so confused because my grandma literally, like, the veggies are cut fresh. Everything's like fresh. And, she prepares the food all day. Well, she prepares for dinner. It starts in the morning. So anything she cooks is amazing.
Nice. So chicken tortilla casserole. And did you say you have the recipe for it?
I do have the recipe for it and I do make it, but it's never quite as delicious as hers.
Any pies or like baked goods or anything like that?
Yeah, we just had one of my kids' favorites and mine as well is mooncake that my grandma makes. And actually, I made it for Thanksgiving. Just a little like homemade dough. And when you bake it, it puffs up with big bubbles. That's kind of the moon part of it. And then we use pistachio pudding, but you could use any flavor. But it's pudding and cream cheese and milk all whipped together. And then it sets because it's instant pudding. And you put that on the dough and then top it with some Cool Whip and drizzle it with some chocolate syrup. And it's pretty amazing.
Wow. So is it a play on the moon pie kind of? Because we have moon pies.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know why it's called mooncake. I don't know. I mean, moon pie, I don't think it's anything like a moon pie.
No.
It's literally like a fluffy pastry crust. And then it's like a pudding mixture. It's instant pudding mixed with cream cheese spread on top and then topped with Cool Whip and chocolate syrup.
It's kind of similar. Like a moon pie is just, it's cake. It's cake.
I guess
it's a
it's
cake
like,
sandwich and then
like
cream cheese pudding-ish kind of like creamy stuff in between.
So I
it's
guess,
like an open face.
it's without the top. Yes, it's open face. Yeah.
But the pistachio, I didn't know they made pistachio pudding. I love me some pistachio ice cream. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds great.
Delicious.
And you do have pets. What pets do you have?
My daughter has a cat. We have a cat, a boy cat named Ginger.
Is that a sore subject, or do you like said cat? Because you said it's your daughter's cat. So what happened there?
Not a sore subject for me, but my husband is like major anti-cat, and I decided my daughter's 8, and about a year ago, she'd been like babysitting my brother's dog and my mom's dog. We like have overnight for fun, and we used to have a dog, but we're just too busy to really be like responsible pet owners. So we decided not to get a new dog once ours passed away. Well, she wanted a pet so bad, and she finally said one day, "Mom, I have been practicing with Stewie, which is my brother's dog, and Hannah, which is my mom's dog." And she said, "When am I going to get a pet?" And I felt like, how can I tell her no? She's right. She's been practicing and showing me that she can be responsible with a pet. But we can't have a dog. Like, we just can't. We travel for soccer. Our work lives are busy, and we would just be terrible dog owners. So cats are pretty, they're pretty self-sufficient. They can stay home when you leave. My husband is so anti-cat. So when they were gone for a soccer trip one day, and my daughter happened to go with him as well, it was just a one-day trip, but it was all day. I got a cat because I thought, if it's here, he'll be mad, but he'll get over it. I'm not joking you. 2 weeks. 2 weeks he didn't talk to me. That was the longest he's ever held out. He was so mad about the cat, but he loves the cat. We all love the cat, except when he cries at like 5 a.m. because he wants to go outside. But
it's an outdoor cat. Is it a kitten? Still a kitten, or just grown?
He's a year old now, a little over a year, and he got a taste of outside and he likes it. So he kind of comes in and out, mostly an indoor cat, but he's a sweet cat.
That's easily solved. You just get a door, right?
That's what I said, but he didn't want me to do that either. So I don't let the cat out. We have trained him that he meows like 2 times and then he'll stop and just wait for us to get up. And it's gotten to where he won't now come at the door until about the time that we get up. So we've, I guess, trained him a little bit.
Yeah, the older he gets, the better he'll get at stuff too. And nobody's allergic?
Nobody's allergic to the cat. And then my daughter brought home 15 frogs from a camping trip one time, little tiny ones. So we have a little tank with frogs. There's only 4 left because I found out they eat each other when they get a little hungry. So we have 4 frogs left and a little tank. They have no names. They're just 4 little frogs. So
was this recently?
In August, we went camping and my mother-in-law and her caught 15 frogs and they got contained and brought home. So
were they tiny little things?
Yeah, they were like teeny tiny, and 2 of them now are about this big. And then the other two are a little bit smaller. So we have a couple alpha males in there. I think they ate the rest.
Yeah, because I was at maybe a month or two ago at a soccer game, and we found this patch. All the kids found this patch of grass where it was literally like hundreds of these tiny little, must have been hatching season or whatever. I didn't understand it because there was no water around close by, and they have to start as tadpoles in water, right? I don't know how that works, but there was hundreds of them around. I wonder if it was the same type of frog or whatever. Because to get 15 of them, that's a lot of frogs to catch. So it had to be like
little spot, and they just kept catching them, and so they came home, and next thing I know, I was buying a tank and dirt and making a frog habitat for these frogs. So,
well, at least they probably learned a little bit of science or something from the frogs.
They're cute. I actually enjoy the frogs more than anyone else. I love watching them play and catch the flies we feed them and stuff. So it's fun.
And they're stuck in a cage, and they can't mess up the house. They can't stink really. If you take care of the cage, it's not that bad. They don't ask to go out. Yeah, I've had snakes in the past, and they're actually really great pets. You could even forget to feed them for like 2 months. As long as they got water and heat, they're good to go.
Yeah,
so, actually, and they don't stink at all or anything. But all right, great. So you have the daughter who has the cat, or everybody has the cat, but she's the one that persisted to get it in the house. And then you also have a boy who's 11. He doesn't have any pets or brought anything home yet.
He doesn't have any pets. He is our soccer player. So he plays on an academy soccer team. So we travel a lot. We do soccer several days a week. He does private training. I mean, and it's year round. We don't ever stop doing soccer. So my daughter does gymnastics, and she also just started soccer and is really liking it. And he does academy soccer. So
nice. My daughter is 8 and does gymnastics and soccer as well. We have a lot of similarities here. You're the academy soccer. Is that just mean like a private school, or is just that like what the public system around? So
it's kind of like your A team and your B team. So it's traveling. So that you have like your rec soccer, and then you have like your non-rec soccer, and within the non-rec soccer we have an A team and a B team, both traveling, but he's on the A team, which they call the academy, and they're just held a little bit higher standard, a little more, better play. We're one of the best teams in our area here in Boise. We have some really good soccer clubs here, and he plays on one of the best ones. We typically play an age up just to keep them from just completely winning all the time. And they still win a lot. They're a really good group of boys that play. So
that's awesome. Did you or Zach play soccer, or did it come from somewhere?
I did play soccer a couple of seasons in high school just because my friends played. I am not a good soccer player. I'm still learning soccer rules. It's still an ongoing process of me learning. But my husband did play. He was a goalie. He was a goalkeeper. He played his whole childhood, his whole life. And would have gone on to play further, but he got into a car accident right out of high school and ended that soccer career. But he did play, and he coaches. He's our goalie trainer on the club.
That was going to be my question, if he or you have ever coached, because I've thought about it, and I played basketball, and I get soccer, but I don't know all the rules or how you're really supposed to do things. So I've been tentative to do so, but maybe I'll do it anyway.
Outdoor soccer and then indoor soccer, and indoor has slightly tweaked different rules because it's inside. And then they also play futsal, which is soccer on a gym floor, and it's got completely different rules as well. So we can play, it allows us to play all year round since it's cold here and snows and things.
So the indoor soccer is on turf, still on some grassy carpet surface or something. Correct. And then the gym floor is just like on a basketball court type floor.
It's on a basketball court, so it's much smaller with a smaller goal, and they do have some kind of completely different rule. I mean, the general game of soccer is still there, but the rules are different on where the goalies can be and grab the ball. And I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to get too much into that because I'll be wrong. But it is different rules, and so they play on a basketball gym floor.
Okay. And my last question about soccer is, because you're kind of intrigued me with, is it like stadium football, or there's some kind of, maybe that's wrong too, but are the walls out, I guess is my question, or can you like kick off the walls and do that kind of thing?
In indoor, you can kick off the wall.
In the actual like turf indoor soccer?
Yes. So I think, and this is where I'm not for sure, because I know that only because I hear my husband telling my son, like, when you see this, kick it off the wall. I think it depends on, and I could be completely wrong, so people can comment, and correct me. I think it depends on how high it hits on the wall. And like, I know next to the goals at the end is different than off the sides. So there's
Huh.
some different rules there.
So then that complicates it even more. If you want to coach now, you got to learn like three, in your case, three different rules to the game.
Yeah,
Makes it a little
I'm
bit
definitely
harder.
not an expert.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, you are married to Zach. Is it Zachary and you call him Zach?
It is Zachary, and sometimes he gets called Zachary, but for the most part, he's Zach.
And how old are you guys? Did you grow up with Saved by the Bell?
Yes, we did. We are both 38. We're a month apart. So this next year,
I would have loved that name. I had Zach Morris's sheets, not on purpose. I just happened to have him. I always thought that was the coolest thing. But I always loved that show for sure. So I would
I
have
had a
loved
friend
having
in
the name
college
Zach.
named Zach Morris. He was actually a friend of a neighbor, and so it was always fun. And it was fun to have a friend named Zach Morris. But we totally grew up in the Saved by the Bell era.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, and your hobbies are tap dancing and crocheting, like I like to say it, crocheting. Those are two different things. Do you do the tap dancing and then you come home and relax and crochet? Is it kind of that order,
Yeah,
or how does it
kind
go?
of. So the crocheting, my grandma taught me when I was 8. So I've picked, it's something that I've mastered. I like to consider myself an expert crocheter, or at least like not beginner or intermediate, definitely advanced. I can make or recreate just about anything, but I definitely go through waves of like, I get tired of doing it. And so I'll put it away for months, if not a year, and then I'll just pull it back out. And, somebody will ask for something, and I'll make something, and I can always just pick it back up at any time. The tap dancing, I grew up dancing, doing anything. And if I could, I would take all the adult dance classes, but that would require me to be away from home like every night. So I choose one, and tap dancing kind of just stuck as far as the group of ladies that I dance with. I occasionally sub the class or some of the other classes in the dance studio for some of the other stuff that's going on, whether they're kids or adults or whatnot. But tap dancing is the one that I've chosen as far as the night of the week, the night of the week that I choose to be gone from home. And so it's fun. And
Yeah, that's awesome. Tap
yeah,
dancing looks fun, and I like that you do it purposely and do it every week, and have a group of people that you do it with. Are there recitals where the family gets to come and see
yeah.
you do it?
So it's optional for us adults in our class, but we choose to participate in the recitals. It's fun. The kids love it. And I think us choosing to do the recital, we've grown our class from like 3 or 4 women to, I think we have like 15 now. And I think doing the recital and being up on stage helps the studio as far as getting the involvement. And it's fun. So we do the recitals. In fact, on my TikTok and my Facebook, you can probably find a couple videos. They're usually recorded, and I usually share them. So
That's awesome. I'm going to look for them. There's past ones I could find?
yeah,
Nice. And everybody can check the links up or down or wherever in the descriptions. The TikTok, the Instagram, everything is in there. So that sounds super fun. So do you have one pair of shoes, or do you have multiple pairs of shoes, or how does that, you kind of start out with, you just buy the cheapest pair and then you work your way up to some nicer thing, or?
yeah. I think if you're a beginner, you'd probably buy like the cheaper pair of shoes. I don't like those shoes. I've danced my whole life, so I buy the more expensive shoes, and I actually wear them out. They probably only last me about 6 months before I need a new pair.
And what
So
wears out on them? The
um,
clinky thing or soles, or?
the inset. Well, right now the pair. So I actually still have my pair from high school, which are my favorite pair. They are the most comfortable, and they don't make that shoe anymore. But the pad, like on like there's a rubber pad right on like the ball of your foot. It's become brittle and it breaks off. So occasionally I kick pieces of dry rubber at people as it breaks. So I try not to wear those too much. They can be resold and fixed. Those are my favorite. And then the other pair that I have, the inside is just completely like cracked and broken and peeling, and they just wear out really quickly. But they can be repaired. Sometimes the
So
older
tap
the shoe.
dancers make friends with cobblers, usually.
Yes.
If you were here, I'd hook you up with a good one. I know the best one around here. Maybe the last one around here.
Well, I would use that. I don't even know one around here. Well, there's a shoe shop that I've had shoes fixed at before, but
Yeah. If you ever need, you can mail them in. She makes custom
I
shoes
might
too, which are
I
actually
might have
the
to.
best gift. Like you could send her a
Oh,
picture of the shoes you want and she
uh-huh.
would make them out of leather. It's the coolest. It's Jumpers shoes and they're like 80
That's
bucks. She
amazing.
should be charging 500
Way
for
more.
them.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a little bit more now, but they're definitely less than what they should be. So that sounds super fun.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about where you are. Well, first, before we talk about Boise, tell us how you got from tap dancing in high school and doing all these things back then, and maybe you did other things. You can tell me if you did, to selling real estate now. So, what was in between like high school and selling real estate now?
That's a great question. I so I grew up with parents who were entrepreneurs. My mom and stepdad owned a restaurant. My real dad owned a automotive shop. Um, so the business side of things and being an entrepreneur was always like not a foreign concept to me. My mom taught me how to run a business. She taught me how to do bookkeeping. She taught me a lot of things. I helped out with some of the family businesses. Restaurant work was definitely not my thing. My brother and sister did that. I chose not to. I taught dance in high school instead of working at the family restaurant. I had my own studio at one point where I taught some kids. And then in high school, I did attend Boise State University for a short time. I didn't finish, so I didn't put that in my stuff I sent you. I never finished school because it just wasn't really my thing. And I worked. I worked at a gun club, a shooting range out here, which was a fun sport that we like to do. I also then worked at a call center for many years. My mom was actually a real estate agent. She got licensed about 24-ish years ago. And so at one point, I just kind of thought, oh, I wouldn't mind doing that. I worked the call center life for about 8.5 years until I had my oldest. And I got laid off from that job after having him. And so I thought, well, I'm a new mom. I'm going to stay home. So then I did kind of that home business stuff, the MLM type, direct sales. And I kind of just did that for a while, decided to go back to work, worked at a car dealership, doing their internet sales in their finance department. And then I got laid off from there. They decided to close our internet department. So I got laid off again when I was pregnant with my second. So I thought, well, I'm going to stay home again. This job thing just isn't really like panning out for me. Nobody wants to keep me around forever. So I continued with the MLM type businesses, which I was very successful at. And I really attribute my training and my knowledge from that to being the agent that I am today. I don't think I would have been as successful had I not had that footwork in the beginning, because it's a long learning process to kind of be that independent contracted person. I did some house cleaning here and there, but real estate was nothing that was foreign to me. My mom being an agent, so I'm a second generation realtor. So I decided 5 years ago, I'm just going to do it. I decided after so the direct sales company I was with actually closed their doors as well. They shut down. And I was like, well, let's do this. So I took what money I had in savings, which wasn't a lot, and I went to real estate school and got licensed. So here I am 5 years later.
Did your
And
mom is she still licensed? Does she still
she is.
practice?
Yeah, so she actually went inactive for a few years and took, she worked for the city and had a job there. And that was a nice change of pace for her for a while. She came back. So we lived in Buhl area, which is a couple hours from Boise, which is where I grew up. And she was still living there, but is from here. And then moved back here a few years ago, reactivated her license and started working alongside me again. Her and her husband actually just sold their house and bought a Class A RV, and they are in Arizona right now enjoying the warm weather. So she can do some assistant work, remotely, but she's active, still kind of doing real estate, but not full time.
That sounds super fun. The RVing. What's Class A mean? Does that just mean it's one of the
Like
giant ones that you drive?
Like the biggest one that you can buy. Those big, huge, touring bus looking.
Do you have to have some special license, or you can drive that with a regular?
So you don't, as long as it's an RV. It's weird. It to me is kind of a silly rule, but as long as it is classified as an RV, like you can take a bus and convert it into an RV and not have to have that special license. But if you
couldn't drive a bus.
You couldn't drive a bus without the license. But if you buy a bus and convert it to an RV, you can drive it without special license.
Huh. Yeah, because you're only putting yourself in peril, I guess, is the thinking of the rules. Maybe with the bus, you could be transporting another 80 souls with you that could be in peril or something. Huh. All right, well, that sounds super fun. And it's cool that she keeps her license going. What does she do? She's on your team, you said, kind of?
Yeah. We definitely work together. She also works as an assistant for another agent within our office. When she's around, when she's here locally, she'll, open houses for me, do whatever. If I'm unavailable or something, she'll step in and help out.
That's great. And she doesn't have to be consumed by it. She can kind of do it as she likes to. So we are going to talk about the landscape in Boise, Idaho. But first, I'm going to bring up the map here like everybody can see. And I'm going to read a little bit about Boise. What do I want to do first? I want to show them. So here we got our map. Here we got our map of the United States. You can see the pin over here. I was surprised, like I said to Carlie, where Idaho was. Everybody's going to think I'm completely stupid, but I'm learning geography as well. I knew about where it was, but I guess I pictured that it was more in the middle of the country, or I think of it as Midwest, which I picture as the middle of the country, but it's actually pretty much West Coast, right next to Oregon, and then Boise is way west, southwest in Idaho, as you can see here. So, and what's this big road that's running right here? Is that 84? Is that a major...
I-84, so that's our main freeway.
Okay. And I'm going to read. So right now it is 34 degrees there, which is a little bit colder than us today, but about the same as us in this time of the year, I guess. Yeah, I would guess that you guys technically are probably a little bit colder than us in general. But right there, currently 34 degrees. It's 10 o'clock there as compared to 12 o'clock here. So you're only 2 hours behind. You're in what is that, Central Time Zone?
We are Mountain Time Zone. So
Mountain Time Zone.
Yeah, the coast is Pacific. We're Mountain, and then there's Central and then Eastern.
Gotcha. And then I'm going to read the quick blurb here that Google puts up here. And you can tell me if any of this seems true or bunk or whatever, because I don't know where they get this actually. So Boise is the capital city of Idaho. I'm assuming that is factual and correct. Yes. The Boise River Greenbelt is a series of tree-dotted trails and parks hugging the water's edge. In an Art Deco building, downtown's Boise Art Museum has contemporary works and an outdoor sculpture garden. The Grand Sandstone Idaho State Capitol Building is nearby. The Grand Sandstone Idaho State Capitol Building is nearby. The old Idaho Penitentiary contains 19th century prison cells and gallows, plus historic military weaponry. Does all that seem kind of accurate? I'm Absolutely. Sure there's a whole lot more, but...
Yes. Yeah, if you ever get a chance to tour the penitentiary, it's a pretty cool place.
That does sound cool. It's how old is it? Like mobster times kind of penitentiary?
I would honestly have to look it up. I've toured it many times as a kid on field trips and different things. It's old. They shut it down. It's called the Old Penitentiary. We have a new one that you can't tour because there are inmates there. But I would have to look it up. I don't even know how old it is. It is very old, all sandstone, and it sits right at the base of what we call Table Rock. A lot of people hike out there. So you actually park like in the parking lot near the penitentiary and head off to go hike Table Rock, which is a really popular hiking trail around here that takes you up to a flat top that has a big lit cross you can see throughout the valley. So it's a really popular place to hike.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And again, when I was pulling Boise up, I was surprised. I was looking for pictures for the thumbnail, and in the background of them, there are these big mountains in all of them, which I didn't really picture. So everybody can see the map here, and I can now see kind of all the mountains nearby there. What is the landscape like in general? Is it kind of flat? It looks like Boise maybe sits in a lower lying flat area, but you're close to hills and mountains.
Yeah, so the landscape is definitely, Boise sits in what we call the Treasure Valley. So we are in a valley surrounded by mountains. And it's funny that you say that you didn't realize there was mountains. There's days where I drive into my office or into town, and I actually often forget that we have these beautiful mountains that surround us. And every so often, I'll just kind of like look up and go, "Wow, that's so beautiful!" Like I forget that we have these beautiful. I mean, I get so used to seeing them all the time that I do often forget that we have these, you know, beautiful mountains to look at. But for the most part, we do have the mountains kind of towards the north, and we have some kind of southwest as well. So we, like I said, we do sit in a valley, but we also are a desert area. We are known to be a desert. We have a river that runs through that, they mentioned in that description that we are lined with trees. And so there are some trees that run through Boise and through our valley, but more south of town and some of the surrounding areas are definitely more desert. So we kind of get a couple different climates. I mean, we get like the really dry, it gets hot. So, it's dry here, but also towards the north in the mountains, we do have the moisture as well from the snow that comes off the mountains and the tree lined landscape and a lot of the hills and things. So that would be probably majority of what the landscape would look like. We're definitely known for our trees here.
What kind of trees?
Literally any tree. So Boise stands for City of Trees. Les Bois means the trees. And so it's where we get our name. And so there's literally lots of trees, any kinds of trees. We just have a beautiful landscape. The fall time is beautiful as the leaves change. We have the orange and the yellow and the red and, pine, anywhere from like pine trees to like your basic, maple trees that you would have or your aspen wood trees, all kinds.
Nice. And the sandstone, you mentioned that a couple times, and you mentioned that it's kind of desertish in some areas. Is there a lot of architecture with sandstone, and that's why you have sandstone, is because of all the sand?
A lot of the older buildings are definitely made of that sandstone. I don't know much about the history of those. It's something I should research, being that I'm from here and lived here my whole life. Some of those extra things, when you've lived here your whole life, you don't really pay as much attention to unless you're a tourist. So, but yeah, we definitely, you get more south of town, we have desert areas. I mean, as far as I know, you'll get to like the things to do, but there's such an array of things to do here because we have all the different landscapes. We have the mountain areas, we have the flat walking paths, we have the lined, treescapes, we've got the desert areas. So there's literally just about anything you could find. Even though it's desert here and it gets very hot and dry, we also get snow. We can get heavy snow. It gets very cold here. So we kind of have this, in my opinion, a weird mixture. You've got like your Arizona desert, which is hot and just warm all the time. And you've got your northern, mountain type weather where it's cold and rainy and snowy. And we kind of get like the combination of that kind of collides right in our valley.
And you touched on it a little bit that you're in a valley, and you just said it again. So what's the weather like? So here we're in a valley, we're in the Susquehanna Valley, and clouds kind of come in and they kind of sit here. It seems like it's always cloudy and overcast in central Pennsylvania. I think the stat is half the days of a year we have sunshine. So what's it like there? Does stuff sit there, or is it sunny a lot, or what's it like?
So we definitely get like all 4 seasons here, but they're not always necessarily in their own time. Like it can snow in May, it can be hot, but for the most part, so as far as our climate, we definitely get, I think, the best of all 4 seasons, really, like every single little bit and piece and part without some of the major, weather. We don't get tornadoes. We don't obviously get like tsunamis, and we don't live near large bodies of water. We don't get earthquakes. I think there's been 2 earthquakes my entire existence. One when I was a baby, And the other one we just had last year, and it was very small. First time I've ever actually like felt an earthquake. So we don't get any major, like those type of major weather conditions, which is fantastic. One of the reasons I love being here. In the summertime, we start out about 50 to 75 degrees in like the beginning of summer, like transitioning from spring to summer. And as the summer goes on, it can get up. I mean, we've had weather as high as 114, would probably like close to record heat. It is very dry. 90s is pretty common in the dead of summer. It can get very hot, but it's not quite as miserable because it is dry. We don't have a real humid atmosphere here. In the fall, it definitely, by fall, it'll start to drop back down to like 45 to 65 and kind of taper off and get colder as we hit winter time. We do get some rain in like that spring to summertime and maybe occasionally here and there in the fall. But for the most part, we are still pretty dry. A lot of farmland here. We always need the rain and we do get it, but not as much as we would probably like to see. The winter can get very cold. We can get as low as, 10, 15 degrees. It has been below zero a few times in my lifetime, but definitely below freezing and can stay pretty cold through the winter. Now, as a kid, we had like crazy winters. I mean, snow days were common. Snow drifts, can't leave your house, were common when I was a kid. But as the climate has kind of shifted and changed as I've gotten older, we have very, very mild winters here. Very little snow. If it does snow, it'll melt about as fast as it fell. If it also can stick around for days or a couple weeks. Sometimes it kind of just does what it wants. A couple years ago, I think this was the same for everyone in the US, but in 2016, we had our big snowmageddon, everyone called it. And a lot of people that moved here from out of state, where we have mild winters, we don't have much. And it was so terrible that year. Like everyone was stuck at home, like couldn't go anywhere. And people were like, you guys lied to us. And this is the worst winter ever. And it's like, we promise it's not usually that terrible. So, and then moving back into the spring, we just kind of warm up. So throughout the year, it can literally be from 0 to, 100.
Well, I like that. It sounds like the running theme you have the 4 seasons, but the running theme in all the seasons is there's not a ton of precipitation, whether it's rain or snow or any of that kind of stuff. Sounds like there's not a ton of it, which is going to appeal to people from my neck of the woods for sure. It seems like it's always, like I said, always gray and something's coming down out of the sky or something. Usually not snow, but I would actually prefer snow, I think.
I definitely feel like it's a lot sunnier. We get a lot of more sunny days than not sunny days here.
Yeah, you get, I looked up here, Boise sunny days per year, and it gives a few stats, and it says 206 days of sun per year. The U.S. average is 205, so you're kind of right on par. I think we're at like 165 or something, so a little bit more than here, whatever they constitute as sunny. I don't know how much cloud cover there can be to still be called sunny, but average... in July, it says July is the highest temperature usually, and the average is 91.6. So hot, but not crazy, kind of similar to here again.
Yeah, I looked up some averages beforehand because I knew you were going to ask me that question. And I was actually kind of surprised by some of the averages because the ones online say that it's about 90, 80s and 90s, but it definitely, and I guess maybe if you averaged out the whole month or something, it might do that, but there's definitely days that are hot. I mean, like 100, 98, 100. So I was kind of surprised by that average, but I guess if you were to average out the whole summer months that, because it does start out 50, it starts out lower in that like warm-ish, like nice weather. I would consider it to be like, it's not cold, it's just nice out. And then we get like the drastic hot and then it can kind of taper back off. So I guess it makes sense for an average, but we definitely have.
Yeah. And I mean, 91 is pretty hot too. If there's no wind and the sun's beating down on you, 90s is pretty darn hot. It's 90s for a bunch of days. And then it gets 110 one day, and your brain tells you that it's been hundreds all summer. It's been in the hundreds.
For sure.
But yeah, and the low it says is 23.7. I'm sure it's lower than that sometimes too, but not a crazy below average.
Yeah, I think that's
precipitation. So
probably
sounds like
a
a pretty
average.
nice climate. The
Yeah.
comfort index, whatever they're pulling from, gives it a 7.3 out of 10, I'm guessing. So people can Google it more, but there's a little snapshot of the climate, which sounds pretty good. And then do people that work in Boise, do they live outside in suburbs and commute in? Do people live where they work? How does all the commuting and where people live and work?
Our valley consists of a couple different counties, and we're all very small. So I think it's a pretty even array of, live where you work, travel, commute to where you work. I would say that it's a pretty even mixture. You might live in Boise and work in Meridian. You might live in Nampa and work in Boise. Anywhere you go, as far as like a work commute, or just anywhere, if you want to go to the mall or go, to dinner with some friends, I pretty much schedule 30 minutes. I can get pretty much anywhere in 30 minutes from where I'm at. And I think that's about the same as far as a work commute. I haven't done that commute myself in many years because I haven't worked in an industry that requires me to do that during rush hour. And I know that as our community grows, because we are one of the fastest growing areas in the US right now, the commute time is getting more. But from what I hear from other people from other areas, what are 40 minutes, maybe even an hour at tops for us, which seems like a lifetime to commute to work. For some other areas, they're like, oh, I would dream for that kind of a commute. So I think anywhere from, you pretty much on average 30 minutes you could get just about anywhere, and during those rush hour times in the morning or the evening, maybe 45 minutes, an hour at tops.
Yeah, that's not bad. 30 minutes to get pretty much anywhere in the radius of the greater Boise. How long would it take to drive from Boise to Nampa? Nampa, looks like it's that's the next biggest town around?
About
City?
30 minutes.
Okay.
And I guess it depends. I mean, if you're on the far end of Boise and you want to go to the far end of Nampa, maybe 45 minutes if you're on the freeway.
And then what about public transportation? You got planes, trains, automobiles, buses and trains, I guess is the question.
We do have our like public transit, which is buses. They do run. We have a lot of people drive here. There's not a ton of public transportation. It's available. We also have like a commuter ride community. We have, I've never really done it, but we have like a parking lot. There's these buses, you can sign up, you all go park in one spot, and then you like carpool with each other to places. Of course, we have Uber, and here in this area, like in our bigger Treasure Valley, we have, the Uber and Lyft and some of those things. When you get more to like the Buhl area where I used to live, a little less of that. It's a little smaller areas, but we have an airport in Boise. It's a decent sized airport. It's not your LAX or anything. But we do have an airport. We used to have, we do have a train depot here that's iconic. And we used to actually have trains that ran through there. But the older it got, they actually stopped stopping here. We no longer have a train stop in this area at all. I don't even know where the closest one would be. But so pretty much your airplanes, your taxis, your Ubers, your buses, and your own commuting. So.
And then what about toll roads? Do you have toll roads at all?
Not a single
one. No Easy
one.
Pass?
Nope.
Don't even know what it is? Do you know what it is?
We travel enough. I do know what it is. I don't know of any in Idaho, actually. It may be in northern Idaho that I don't drive through often, but down here, nope, not at all.
All right. I didn't know. I just assumed they were everywhere for whatever reason, because I only drive on the East Coast where we have them, but started talking to people, they're like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, they are all over the West Coast. If you go to California, Washington, Oregon, there are toll roads. But in Idaho, I don't know of one.
All right.
So. Still
to come. That when they need money to fix the road. Do you have any of the express lanes like some of them have?
No, but we do have right through the center of town. So like if you look at the map, like Meridian's kind of like the heart of our valley. So right through, if you kind of leave Boise, go through Meridian and then into Nampa, right there, they keep widening our freeway. So I think it's 5 lanes right now. That's probably like our biggest section. And at some point, if they were going to do something, it might be there. But as you exit Boise on the east side, and as you like exit Nampa Caldwell on the west side toward Oregon, it tapers back down to a 2-lane freeway.
Okay.
2-lane both each direction. So 2 lanes one way and 2 lanes the other. But
Right. That wouldn't be much traffic if it was just 2 lanes.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So what about employers and industries there? What's in Boise? Obviously, you probably have everybody has hospitals and expanding medical stuff. Any colleges, any corporate headquarters,
So
any of that kind
yeah,
of stuff?
some of our big industries. I mean, we do have our St. Luke's Health System and our St. Alphonsus. Those are our 2 major hospitals. St. Luke's is probably our biggest. St. Al's would be more of like your trauma, and St. Luke's is more of your everything and like children's and things. And so we have St. Luke's all over. That's probably one of our biggest employers. We also have Micron, which is another big industry here. So your technology, we've got our big Micron facilities, Simplot. So of course, Idaho is our potato capital of the U.S. Grow a lot of potatoes here. And Simplot is one of our big manufacturers for any kind of, food processing, with a lot of food processing plants around here. Ore-Ida, you've probably bought Ore-Ida potatoes or hash browns at some point. So we have that just over the border because we're very close to the Oregon border here. So that we have that as well. Not too far. We recently just got a large Amazon facility that just went in Nampa, a huge Amazon warehouse. So that's one of our big industries that we have. Our Albertsons Corporation is here. So if you have Albertsons grocery stores, our Winco grocery stores, which are only in the West Coast. Winco is Washington, Idaho, Nevada, California, and Oregon. So those headquarters are here as well. We have, if you're familiar with Scentsy, the plug-in candle warmers, it's a MLM type company. So they are headquartered here. They're actually created and made right here in Meridian, Idaho. And they have their call center and their manufacturing plant. Everything's right here in Meridian. So that employs quite a few people. I wrote a lot of lumber and wood and like paper companies. So
I was going to ask that. It's the city of trees, so I'm assuming there's something having to do with paper products or
so like
Cascade.
Cascade paper. It's a brand of paper you've probably seen. Usually popular with like office paper. We have a lot of processing plants and things there. Go Squeeze, little squeeze applesauce pouches. Those are made in Nampa. A couple hours away from here in Twin Falls, we've got your Solo Cup manufacturing. You've got Chobani yogurt and Cliff Bar. So a lot of big factories and manufacturing plants that we have in southern Idaho.
Do all the college kids always want to do internships at the Solo factory?
Maybe. I don't know. And then, of course, we have Boise State University. We're known for our blue turf. If you ever watch any Boise State football games, we're famous for the blue turf. So that's a big college. And close by, we also have our College of Western Idaho, which is in Nampa. And then we have our College of Idaho, which is in Caldwell, all in this valley.
And then the last thing about industries, which also segues into things to do, is tourism and industry at all, and then kind of segue into what there is to do there if people do visit.
Yeah, so there is, I had all my favorite things to do, but I knew there's so many things to do. So I actually hit up my Facebook friends and was like, what's your favorite things to do? And the list is so long. So I'll try not to do all of them, but there is a lot of things to do. So as far as like entertainment, our nightlife is fantastic. Our downtown nightlife is great. We have a lot of amazing restaurants, a lot of places that are really known for kind of our farm to table here. That's something that's really big in our area. So a lot of local farming. My family actually farms. So a lot of the food that you get in our grocery stores come right from my mom's brother. And so we, a lot of farming around here, a lot of farm to table restaurants. Trail riding is really big. So I kind of mentioned earlier, if you want like kind of your desert, your mountains, your hills, any kind of trail riding. So like we have a side-by-side, a Polaris RZR. We love to take the family and go riding. And it's my husband's favorite pastime. He could do that. If he could make money riding in his RZR, I think that he would do that. Um,
You
and
can.
yeah, dirt bike riding, four-wheeler riding, horseback riding's big. We even have some communities that are specific for housing for horses if you've got them. We have like a virtual reality arcade in the area that's really fun. Um, we have a lot of car shows go on here, drag racing, circle track car racing is something that's fun here. We have an awesome horse racing track, but it's been closed down for a few years and then it'll open and then change hands, but it's been around near our fairgrounds. We have our state fair that happens here every year. A lot of fishing. If you like fishing, you can go drive anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour to get some really good fishing. Boating, we have some big reservoirs around here. So people like to go just hang out on the beach. You can get to our Arrow Rock Reservoir in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, depending on traffic, and spend the day at the beach. You can boat, water ski, wakeboard, just hang out and camp down there if you wanted to. Camping and stuff too. You can drive anywhere from 1 to 3 hours away, depending on how far you'd like to get away, and camp or cabin, rent Airbnb cabins in some of our mountain, more resort towns that we have not far away. You can drive an hour and a half and go to McCall and have like a, overnight stay in a mountain resort town, which is really fun. Ice skating, walking on our Greenbelt. I mentioned through like our river, a lot of walking and biking happens in our kind of north end of Boise, trails there. Hiking, a lot of people, I mentioned hiking too, hiking Table Rock, hiking. There's tons of places to hike. Cliff jump into the water, lots of places to do that. Of course, we have our Boise State football, our Boise State Broncos, as well as all of our other great Boise State teams with women's basketball, men's basketball, soccer, or sorry, not soccer, my boys soccer. You can go watch them. So lots of, sports that you can do. We have a hockey arena here as well. So that's a big one. You can go watch hockey games, the Idaho Steelheads. Places to go swimming, whether it's, we have a big water park right in Meridian, and they are in connection with like an arcade outdoors. They have like go-karts and mini golf and arcade stuff and the giant water park. And other swimming places all around if you want to swim in a controlled, or if you want to go swim in the river, or you want to go swim in the reservoir. There's plenty of swimming that you can do. Dancing, of course. We have some great dance studios around here. Kayaking is another popular one. People like to go kayaking. Shopping, of course. Snow skiing. So Bogus Basin is our snow skiing mountain. You can get up to Bogus in 40 minutes, depending on where you're at, and go snow skiing for the day. We have some great wineries around here. So if you like to go do like the wine tasting, winery type life, we have that as well. So I'll wrap up that list. There's tons of things to do around here.
Well, you're speaking my language with a lot of that stuff, a lot of the outdoors stuff, any of that. I'm down to do any of that, especially if I ever come out on there. We got to go out on the side-by-side for sure.
Yes, that would be fun. And one thing I forgot to even write down, but I mentioned it at the beginning, and it's crazy that I forgot it because it's a big sport for me. And before my dad passed away, we used to do it together, and that's sporting clay shooting. So I mentioned earlier shooting, just going out in the desert and shooting is fun. But I've also done it as a sport myself, some competition shooting. And we do have a lot of gun ranges around here for sporting clays. If you're not familiar with that, it's the little clay discs that fly in the air and you shoot them with a shotgun. And we have other ranges that are for, like indoor, like your handgun ranges. My husband actually is a really good shot. He has shot competitively for long range rifle shooting. We have some clubs around here for that. And he's a really excellent long range shot. So don't want to mess
clay
with
shooting's super fun. I recommend that highly. Even if you don't really like guns or you're not into it or you're not a hunter or whatever, for sure go and do it as an outing. It's fun. They do the ones that, what do they call them? Rabbits on the ones that bounce, and then some go side to side, some come at you. It's not as easy as you think it should be, maybe. So
that was one of my first jobs, was working at a gun range, and then my dad always shot, and that's what I did. So it was a hobby. So that can
be an expensive hobby too, because depending on what you're shooting, I mean, you can get cheaper target rounds for some stuff or whatever. But even that, I mean, You can blast off $100 in 2 seconds, in 3 seconds with some guns.
Yeah, we have several really good shooting ranges around here in the mountains, a lot of different landscapes, a lot of different, desert side lands, tree sides, a lot of different types. If you want a variety of shooting ranges, there's a lot around here for that too.
And then the last thing I'll ask you before we move on to what people can get for the money there is like what I call pop-up festivals, like 4th of July, Arts Fest, fireworks over the river or something, any of that kind of stuff. First Fridays downtown, block parties, that kind of thing go on.
All of those things. First Thursday, we have downtown. We have our Thursday Night Thunder at one of the other areas where we have like a big complex with a theater, and they have beach volleyball and live music and restaurants. We have the Alive After 5 in the summertime on Wednesdays, which is downtown and more of our nightlife. And there's usually live music and mingling. There's bars, restaurants, and things. We have, I just went brain dead. Some of the things you already mentioned. We have all of those things.
Fireworks?
Fireworks. So our fireworks, we have, of course, fireworks in Boise at 4th of July. And there's a few neighboring smaller towns that are known for their fireworks as well that put on a really great show. Each town has their like founders days, which are always fun. We have we used to have our Festival of Trees, and I heard it's coming back. And that was our big festival each year that was in Boise. And when I was a kid, they actually did the parade. It was a float parade on the river. And you would go sit along the river and watch the float parade. But of course, they do other parades throughout the year, holiday and different things. And the we have a Renaissance fair that happens. We have like our art in the park where all the local vendors. We have Tree Fort Music Festival that happens every year. Lots and lots of. There's always something going. There's literally always something going on.
And it's the state capital, which I think we mentioned, but we didn't stress it a lot in the industries or employers section or anything. And I just thought of it as we were talking that's probably, that props up a lot of the state capital. That brings a lot of the other things that come to deal with the state capital and keeps an area kind of smooth. A lot of times that brings other government, federal buildings, and maybe military and other stuff. So being the state capital is great.
We do have I guess, as far as an industry, we do have our Air Force Base here as well. We have a lot of branches in the area, but Mountain Home, which is just about an hour and a half from Boise, about an hour from Boise, is our Mountain Home Air Force Base. And then we also have our Gowan Field, which is in Boise, which is where a lot of the, we have a lot of military in this area as well. So a lot of military.
That's good to know. We also do, and it keeps we're always steady. There's no maybe it's some ups and downs, but with the state government and the military and all these things that never kind of go away, keeps an area nice and steady. And everybody's getting Amazon. We're all getting the warehouses are going up everywhere because they want to be able to give it to you the same day. So they need warehouses everywhere to have every item everywhere at all times.
All the time.
So tell us what we can get for the money. I'll start with what we can get here. Our starter home, to get into your kind of like beginner American dream home, which I qualify as a 2-story, 3 to 4 bedroom, hopefully has a 2-car garage on like a 0.2 acre, probably built in the 80s or 90s. You're going to spend $300-ish now to kind of start that. Maybe it was $250 a year or two ago, but $300-ish is kind of the entry level to the American dream. Obviously you could go lower, but so what can we get for that money, or is it way higher or way lower?
So if we're talking like Ada County, which is where Boise is, so Boise is going to be your kind of more expensive, and then Meridian's, as we kind of spread out into the other parts of Ada County. So in Ada County, your typical, so our entry level kind of American dream home would be like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single story, 2-car garage. A standard lot here is about 0.16. That single family home. If it's new construction, about $425 for that, and a little bit older that might not be as updated, you're looking $360 to $400 for kind of the same thing, and that's in Ada County. You could hop over to Canyon County, which is Nampa, Caldwell area, and you could save a little bit and get a little closer to that like $300, $350 kind of just depending on age and condition.
And then what about the age of the houses? Do you have here in our downtowns, it's most stuff is like a 1900 to 1920s ish. And then as you move out, it gets in, the further you go out, the newer it gets, kind of is the same kind of deal.
Yep, pretty much. So we have like our downtown, like original Boise, and your homes are going to be, from the 1900s. We have some historical areas like our Warm Springs and Harrison Boulevard are going to be like, if you were a tourist, I would say go drive down there because they're beautiful. You're going to get kind of your more historic type, multi-generational households, the bigger, pretty dream homes that everyone would love to live in. And then as you kind of stretch out into like our bench area that they call it, you're going to get kind of your homes built more in, the 40s and 50s. And as you spread out, and it continues to just spread. And so you can get some new construction, but the newer the home, the farther away from the center of town you are. Unless you wanted, there's some new homes in town, but typically some old homes been torn down. And then to replace it, they put up 4 or 5 in its place. So your lot size is going to be like super tiny. So if you want like a decent lot size, you're going to have to go like outskirts a little bit or old. I mean, those are kind of your choices.
Do you have basements?
Yeah. Very rare. Earlier, the older the home, basements were a little more
I was
common.
not expecting that.
Yeah. So the basements were more common, like the 50s era homes, 40s, 50s. And then as we grew, some of the newer homes, some of the builders will say like builders today just don't even know how to do basements properly. From the mouth of a builder, I'm not going to say that our builders don't know how to do basements, but they're not common. They are not common at all in today's new builds whatsoever. So if you
what's the most?
They're old.
They're old. What's the most common heating source? Are you going with gas most places now?
Forced air, gas. Maybe an electric. Maybe electricity powers your furnace, but for the most part, it's going to be gas. Your water heater and your furnace will be gas.
And then last question, HOAs, do you have them and what's the nature of them? So people in our area are familiar with newer construction, even single family homes will have an HOA, but there's no gates, there's no golf courses, there's no clubhouses, there are no amenities really. It's just kind of to make sure nobody puts swastikas in their front yard or does crazy things or paints their house purple or something. So what are the HOAs like? And maybe an idea of a typical fee? I know there's no typical, but here, $80 to 150 maybe. If it's below 80, I'm asking questions. If it's above 150, I'm kind of asking questions. So give us an idea about the HOA in general.
So they are vastly, like this is really like across the plane. Depending on where you go, some neighborhoods don't have any. So I don't know if this is the same everywhere, but here, every home, as long as it's within city limits, does have CC&Rs. So they have rules and regulations. Whether or not they have an HOA to control those rules is a different story. So the older neighborhoods we have, and sometimes, so for example, my in-laws' parents had a house on this particular street and it's old. There's no HOA, but the rules are there and the people that live there are multi-generational. So very rarely do you have just someone new that has moved into the street. They stick to those rules very closely. So even though there's no HOA, you better follow those rules because the neighbors will come after you and they will win. So you have to kind of know where that is. But generally speaking, the older neighborhoods, if they're anywhere from 30 years and older, there's likely no HOA. Any of the newer neighborhoods, they're going to have an HOA anywhere from $50 to $400. And then there's some that are quite a bit more expensive that we do have, like gated communities. We do have some communities that, every home has a waterfront because we have these like lakes and things throughout, and they've been built a certain way and then they're maintained. Some maintain all the grass and the grounds in the neighborhood, some don't. A lot of our newer neighborhoods that were built in the last decade or so are going to come with a community pool. And so that's going to cost you more. So like 400 a month or 400 a year, sorry, not a month, is going to be pretty average if you've got like a community pool and maybe a community clubhouse and a gym and a playground area. And they could just vary depending on if it's like a custom build neighborhood that's just got extra things. They're going to be a little more expensive. They might be like 400 a quarter versus like your average neighborhood. I would say on average, it would be about 400 a year, and it's going to include a pool and a clubhouse and some other kind of amenity. A lot of the elementary schools now are being built like in the neighborhood as well. So that's become a really common thing over the last several years. So your school for the elementary age kids are like literally inside your subdivision. So that's really convenient.
Yeah. I mean, it must be a pretty large subdivision. I mean, you mentioned it's a exploding area somewhat, so that would make sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Or even to have an HOA with a pool with a 400 a year. I could see 400 a year is really cheap to have a pool and some amenities with at least
so
around
like
here it would be.
My neighborhood we're just finishing up the final phase. And I believe, without looking it up, we have about 800 homes with one elementary school, one pool, and one clubhouse and one park. And our fees actually went down as we've added homes. I think it's like $385 now.
That's
because
awesome.
we have enough homes to kind of cover some of those expenses.
Yeah. And if anybody needs more information, they can always hit you up, obviously. And if they want to know what they can get for $1 million or $2 million or 50,000, I don't know if you have anything that low. We've got some stuff in the city you can still get for that low. Maybe. Should have bought it a few years ago. Could have scooped some really cheap stuff up.
For sure.
So before we end out, I will ask you a question that has nothing to do with real estate or Boise or anything, but does have to do with you. If you could do any other profession, what would you do? What would you be?
Oh, that is, growing up, because I was a dancer, I always thought my dream job was to just be a dancer my whole life. I wanted to just do that. I thought I would, we come from the era of MTV, and I wanted to be a backup dancer in music videos. That was like my dream job. I don't think I would pick that today. I love doing real estate. I truly have found something that I absolutely love to do, but I've also in my life considered being a teacher. Of course, I've done some dance teaching, and I do train new agents as well. So I'm kind of doing teaching. And just really being a business owner is just kind of always been in my blood, whether, because that's what my parents did. So I don't know if I could choose like a specific thing that I just always held on to or that I love other than what I do.
I think the dancing teacher or instructor or something, because when you get to be of our age, being a dancing star probably isn't in the cards, at least not for me with my knees. But teaching somebody else maybe that's coming up to dance and give them an opportunity, or maybe just own the place and somebody else even teaches them, you could certainly do. If I knew when I was young that you could actually do some of the things that you dreamt of, like if I wanted to be a cowboy, I could actually be a cowboy. They say you could be whatever you want, but they don't really drill it in and say, like, you really can be some crazy thing. If you wanted to be a purple dinosaur that sings songs to little kids every week, you could be that thing. So I like to tell my kids that, but that's cool. And you're still dancing, so you could probably pick up teaching dancing tomorrow, I would think. So say all your information. What's that?
I sub occasionally, so I do teach once in a while. But
there you go. Let's get some classes from the get-go by you from Carlie. Carlie tapping from Carlie. Read your information aloud for anybody that might be listening later that can't see your information on the screen.
Perfect. Well, if you need to call or text me, my phone number is 208-989-8261. You can reach me by email, my first and last name, CarlieSeamons@gmail.com, and that's CarlieSeamons@gmail.com. And you can also find me online at 7thRootRealEstate.com. So the number 7th, rootrealestate.com. And a quick little side note, I don't know if I told you, Derek, but do you know why my name is Seventh Root Real Estate?
I was just about to ask it.
Well, I'm pretty proud that I live in Idaho. Obviously, I love it here. I was born and raised here, but not only was I born and raised here, my dad was born and raised here. My grandmother, his mom, was born and raised here. Her father was born. I think was born here. So I have 7 generations in Idaho. So I'm a seventh root. The first 3, because some people ask me, Idaho wasn't even like a sanctioned. It wasn't a state yet. We weren't here. But they lived more than 10 years here, which I feel like if you live 10 years, you can call yourself an Idaho. And, they actually lived 10, 20 years here, and they're buried here in Idaho soil. So 7 generations. My grandmother's still alive, myself, all the other generations are all buried in Idaho soil, and were born here and raised as well. So that is where my name comes from.
How old is Grandma? What's Grandma's name?
My grandma's name is Marlene, and she is 83 years old. She just had a birthday, and I think she's 83 or 84. I think she's 80. Pretty sure she's 83. And she lives in Boise, Idaho. So
a lot of late years left. I was expecting you to say 90s or 100 or older for some reason.
know.
So 80, that's like nothing these days.
My parents and grandparents had kids young. It's interesting because my husband's grandparents are gone, and they died in their 90s a few years ago, like 97, 98. And my grandparents, both sides, are very young. I still have all 4 of my grandparents with me. So
that's great. And you still get that home cooking for a while. You don't have to start making it for a while. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, you guys can find Carlie's information in the description or wherever, and feel free to reach out to her directly, or feel free to reach out to me if you need to buy or sell a home in central Pennsylvania or anywhere in the area, and I'll connect you to the right person somewhere else if it's not in central Pennsylvania. Call me, text me, email me, throw a rock through my window, send a carrier pigeon, do the same thing with Carlie. She wants to hear from you, and I do as well. I didn't ask you, real quick in like 10 seconds, inventory still tough there in December 2021?
We actually, we have taken a turn. We're usually ahead of the curve with the rest of the United States. So we are in kind of a more leveled out market right now and be able to get buyers some stuff. We have a lot more inventory than some of the rest of the US. So check us out. You can see everything we have on my website.
Awesome. So prices are still high. There's no crash. So prices are still good. They've appreciated. So it's a good time to sell, and getting better for buyers. It sounds like in Boise, and here too, a little bit better for buyers, but still kind of tough to win a deal these days. But if you need to, reach out to one of us. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. Thank you, Carlie, for being here. See everybody. Say bye, Carlie.